Hey everybody, what's up? This is Anthony with the Hive Mind, and we want to welcome you to a special edition of the Hive with Us podcast. We're taking a little pivot here. We're still going to, of course, we're going to continue to talk about real estate, but something that's really been weighing on my mind lately is that a lot of us that are doing well, that might have an audience in real estate, I feel like in a lot of ways, people look up to us, but it seems like the people that are on kind of on the stage in the spotlight that are actually doing it, it might seem that they're like superhuman, right? So this podcast is going to be a little bit different because it's not going to tell you about all of our superhuman feats. This one's going to be, we would like to have like a more health-oriented podcast that talks a little bit more about some of the challenges faced when you are a top earner, a top producer, and what we do, right, to overcome some of those challenges. So for episode 1, we're like at episode 205, but for episode 1 of this type of podcast, this is going to be the Health Mind podcast. We have a very special guest. He's from Stockton, California. He is a top producer in his market. The gentleman is in the top 1% of producers in Stockton, California. So please welcome Mr. Lance McHan.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, what's up, man? What's up?
Thank you for having me. It's we were talking today, and people only see us, like you said, superhuman, and so to be able to have this opportunity to share like the ups and downs of success, it's really important.
Dude, man, I got that vibe from you. It's pretty cool earlier because I was just talking to you, and then you kind of went into what's really been weighing on my mind lately. I feel like, it's not necessarily being fake, right? But we're only showing people one side of what it looks like or feels like to be successful. And then when you shared your story with me, I'm like, boom, this is it, man. Somebody as successful as yourself. We see you on the billboards.
Yeah. You're like, let's do a podcast. I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Never expected you to be able to jump on instantly, man. So I appreciate you being so accessible and ready to contribute. I think this is really going to help a lot of people, man. It's been on my heart to share this type of information.
Yeah, because like I was sharing with you about 2 weeks ago, I felt like I just had this cloud over my head. I was like, I don't know what's wrong. And somebody in my office said, don't be discouraged. Like they were talking about discouragement. I was like, man, that's a perfect word for the way I feel. It's like I have all this stuff going on in my life, and I just couldn't shake it. And one of my coworkers was like, "Come on, man, let's go grab a coffee." And my broker was like, I knew my broker put him up to it. And he was like, hey, thank you for doing that. It means a lot. He's like, for having to take me a walk. He's like, no, he didn't walk. He didn't take you for a walk. He was walking beside you. Like, you always have somebody to lean on. Like, we have your back here. And I was like, man, that's profound. Like, walking beside you. And so, moving forward, I was talking to you today, and you were like, yeah, I was like working out. Like, I got to work out because I feel like if I don't, like, it kind of makes me depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were saying, how many days a week do you do CrossFit?
2 days, man. That's all I need. 2 days and 3 on a good week.
Sweet workout, right? And so you said that, and something just said, like, I got to share this with you. I have 2 kids, and I feel like I'm developing them. I'm not raising them. I'm developing them. Dad operating like 100%, 110%. I'm always optimistic. And I was like, you know what? I need to share this with my kids because I don't want them to feel like they can't, like they're going to let me down if they're not at 110% all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, hey, and I did it separately. I have a daughter she's going to be 17, and a son who's 20. I'm like, hey, this is what Dad was going through these past few days. Dad was discouraged. I didn't know why. I just felt like things weren't going right, even though things were, fine, right? And I was like, is this what depression is? Like, I just didn't know. And I shared that with them, and they just looked at me, and they're like, thank you for sharing that. Like, they you could see the look in their face, like the appreciation, and know that they didn't have to always hold themselves to that high standard. And then you were saying, I kind of forget how you kind of pivoted from there, and you were saying something about, about something about being superhuman to people on social media.
Yeah, man. I feel like, again, like I feel like we might be letting people down because what we do in my mind, right? When you're posting stuff, you're posting about your wins, how your day went, how you're feeling, and it makes it seem very superficial. Like, yeah, this guy's always on fire. This guy's always killing it. This guy's always on top of his game. And it's like you play these mental games with yourself, and we have these exercise regimens and these protein powders, whatever it takes for us to keep our heads in the game. But then I feel like we're leaving behind a lot of people that say, well, shoot, I'm not superhuman, so I'm never going to get to that level because I don't operate like that guy operates. Maybe his nervous system operates differently than mine, or he didn't grow up like I grew up. He's entitled, right? So I wanted to have more of these conversations, like literally. I just want to figure out like what are the tips and tricks and the hacks for top performers. Like, so if you could share a little bit about like what do you do on a day-to-day basis to keep your head in the game, or when you do feel like maybe that dark cloud's rolling in, like what do you do to pull yourself out of it? And like, do you have anything you could share?
But going back a little bit, I wasn't entitled. I grew up poor on the east side of Stockton. I had holes in my shoes and my jeans. Like, I didn't have a lot. And I think that drive for success, just put your head down and push through. But some days, like, I'll be in my office and I'm just like, I don't know, like, I've sat in my office and did 100 push-ups, not like 100 in a row. I can't do that, but as many as I could do in a row.
Yeah.
And just do 100 push-ups just for that, that chemical push, like something accomplished, right? Yeah. Or I'll take couple laps around the parking lot just to, if I can't make it to the gym, which some days you can't, like you have appointments, all this stuff is going on. And I think it's important too to have some people to lean on, friends. I'm always a guy calling to check on my friends, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And like during that time when I was discouraged, one of my buddies, he's like, hey man, just checking on you. We talked for about 5 or 10 minutes, and I texted him later that night, thank you, man. Like, I needed that. Like, yeah. I needed, somebody, just one of my friends, hey bro, you good? Yeah, I'm good. I think exercise is good, eating right. I mean, ice cream is like my kryptonite, so I try to stay away from that.
I tried not to demonize the sugar, man. I'm not gonna go too crazy, but I'm not trying to demonize sugar. So whenever I need an ice cream or a pie or something, no questions asked.
Oh yeah, a gal from the office, she made a peach cobbler. I'm just like, I'm not gonna say no. I'm just gonna have a little piece, right? Like moderation, moderation. What do you do for your daily mental, IQ that you keep you sharp?
Man, I think some of the bigger things that I do is I try to get up whenever my body wakes up. So I don't like to abuse my sleep and be up at 4:30 in the morning so I can start off my crazy rituals, because I feel like sometimes I am working till 10, 11 or midnight. I know that's terrible, but I kind of try to let my body wake up whenever I do. So sometimes it's like at 6, sometimes it's at 7, sometimes it's later. And then first thing I'm doing when I wake up is I'm going to hydrate. So I'll go for some water, and I'll try to do a little bit of like pink salt, maybe some lemon in there, maybe a little bit of apple cider vinegar. But first thing I'm thinking about is I need to hydrate. I need to get myself moving. Yeah. And then if everybody's still asleep, which they mostly 99% of the time are, I'll head downstairs, man, and I'll just pray and meditate. So I'll just sit still and in silence, no music, no nothing on. And I'll kind of just like, for one, try to feel gratitude, even if I'm tired, even if I'm stressed, even if I got a bunch of crap going on. I'm just trying to like feel what gratitude feels like in my body. Just look around the house and say, hey, I have a safe house, I have a strong body. And just try to just find the things that I can appreciate, even when it gets tough sometimes to feel like, I got a lot caving in on me, and maybe that appreciation feeling gets further and further away. So I try to access it and locate it before I start doing anything. And sometimes that takes 5 minutes, sometimes it takes 40 minutes. But that's how I like to start my day, man. And honestly, I don't do it every day. So again, I don't want to make this about being superhuman. It probably happens 2 to 3 times a week. Right. And I find the days that I start slow like that, those are my best days. And then I try to hit CrossFit by 9 o'clock twice a week. I don't start any appointments until noon. And the reason is because I want to like have the mornings to myself to kind of plan, strategize, put those things together before I start jumping into like giving myself up to the rest of the planet. So I try to say my mornings are not for sale is the quote that I use.
Oh, that's good, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I get you. And I think I need to make some, alterations in my daily schedule. Cause I mean, I wake up, drink coffee. That's a good idea. Like have a glass of water first to hydrate and then get the body going. And then like usually like having appointments, sometimes 10, 11, meeting the inspectors, meeting the roofer, whatever. But I like that. I like that mentality. Like that way I could do my prospecting calls and I could do the things that are going to generate income for me instead of worrying about other people's problems. And then I'm more mentally awake. Like I read a text message when I woke up and I'm like, I didn't remember I read it until like 5 o'clock in the evening. I'm like, dang, I forgot to call that person back. Like, so I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna look at my phone, like, and handle any business until like I'm awake.
Yeah, that's another like one that I've really got really good at is not looking at my phone at all until I'm done with my morning, and that might mean, like I said, hydration, meditation, prayer, and then whatever's happening on the phone is important. If something terrible is happening at 8 a.m., like I'm just not going to address it. Because once you look at that phone, that's it. I mean, the world pulls you in, and you're in it. You're stuck.
I know, man. It's like these devices are our whole life. Like our whole life is consumed around them. I'm just like, man, how did people do business 20 years ago? Right? It's like, you had a phone book, everything. Like I was talking to a lady, she's like, oh yeah, like I remember all my friends' phone numbers. I'm like, shoot, I can't even remember. The only numbers I remember is like my house number growing up, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm lucky to remember my own cell number.
I think we've outsourced so much of our memory that like we're losing that part of ourselves. Because I don't have to remember anything. My phone remembers everything.
Yeah. Do you read? Do you read a lot too? Do you like take that time?
I don't read books, but like sometimes I can't sleep and I'm up at like 1:30 in the morning reading like medical papers right in the middle of the night. But I do a lot of reading about like health, like nutrition, fasting, just like stuff that has to do with the body. So most of what I read is a lot of like health stuff. Like I've been going down some anti-aging rabbit holes, and that's probably how this podcast was inspired. I've been looking at a lot of like peptides and anti-aging, just completely unorthodox stuff, not for human consumption, like research purposes only type stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So
you can find on the internet, you just can't use it.
Yeah. Man. Yeah. It's for my pet rabbit. Right. Yeah. That's kind of what I've been thinking about a lot, man. Is like, how do we preserve ourselves? Because for a long time, I felt like I was like chasing the dragon, working 10, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I'm like, where does this end? You know what I mean? Like, am I going to freaking drop dead? And I think we talked about that on the call earlier. It's like men are supposed to shove their feelings down. Like, don't bring that shit up. Quit being a wuss. Like, just keep it down. And I think that's I think we should move past that already, man. And it's exciting because I feel like a macho guy. You know what I mean? I don't feel like I lack masculine features or energy. Yeah. So I think it's okay to say, you know what? Sometimes I'm sick and tired of this shit, man. Sometimes I'm just tired and fed up, and I do need a break. I need to unplug. Sometimes I'll turn my ringer off, but I think that those days of like shove it down deeper and shut up should be over by now. Like guys should be able to reach across the aisle and say like, hey, how do you fix yourself? Because I know what I do.
I agree. It was that's what I was saying earlier. Like men suffer in silence. Like we just hold it in, and then I think sometimes people turn to alcohol or ways to escape, and just instead of letting it go or talking with a buddy, like, hey man, like we're in a group setting. Like, what do you do to not necessarily let off steam, but to decompress, right? So you're not angry all the time, or you're not down on yourself. Because that's what happens. You internalize all this stuff, and then you're just like, what am I supposed to do with it? What am I supposed to do with all this? And then you have a conversation with your buddy or a guy you barely know, like yourself and me, and we're just talking. We're like, wow, this really connects. Like
Yeah.
we should open this up and open up this conversation.
Yeah, man. I think especially in the world of entrepreneurship, again, because like we have this facade of being like bulletproof and that we can go forever. And hey, I'm in the 3:30 a.m. club and I can work till midnight. And you know what I mean? Like somebody's gonna self-destruct, you know what I mean? And I don't want it to be me.
You think Anthony Robbins has a good day every day? Like that?
I can
I'd
imagine.
love to see what that guy looks like behind the scenes. Like,
Yeah, after his events, I bet you he's in bed for a week, man. I mean, the guy's he's turned up like it's like you have an electricity, like you have electrical system, right? So if you took if you unplug something from the socket, cut it, and touched it, I mean that electricity is going to flow through your body because we're hardwired like an electrical system. So you can imagine how many volts are running through that guy's body, right, for days in a row. I mean, he might die on stage someday. You know what I mean? Hopefully not. But I mean, you can only run so much like volts through your body before it becomes like detrimental. And I think that's what people that perform or that like maybe the spotlight or people expect us to perform at a certain level. It's like, yeah, we're frying our nervous system, right? So how do we should have these conversations about protecting each other, helping each other out, digging each other out of these holes. And then, like you said, bringing it up. Like you and I, we've connected a few times, but we're not like, we never hung out and freaking, till 2 in the morning. But like, hey, we know each other well enough. And then just having that conversation today is like, hey man, what do you do when things are getting tough? So I think these conversations are going to become more and more important, man. And I'm really interested in it. I feel like we have a lot to offer if we're letting people know too, again, being vulnerable, saying, hey, I'm not superhuman. I try to be every day. I'm going to push to be, but it's not the case. Yeah.
I mean, you got to have the drive, right? You got to have some type of drive. It's like I was, people who may be not happy with the way they look physically. It's like you can't just want it to be one way or the other. I used to go volunteer at my daughter's school and my son's school, and then I'd have the other kids read to me, and I would ask them, "Who's your favorite athlete?" Kobe Bryant. Okay, great. Do you think he wants to be good, or do you think he practices? Right? It's like you have to move forward to what you want to do, but yet you have to also not like overdo it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with pushing yourself, but like you said, you only have so much electrical impulses, and then you're going to crash and burn. I don't know what it's like to be depressed or be one of those people who are up and down all the time, but I feel sorry for those people because I couldn't imagine having a life like that. But at the same time, I think you have to just move forward. Like some days I'll do, like I was saying, I'll do 100 push-ups in my office just to have some type of movement in my life, something. I call it mindless work. Like we were touching on that earlier. Like if I'm having a problem, I'll go wash my car. And some people are like, I'm not going to wash my car, but you don't need to think about washing your car. You just do it. So it's kind of like a meditative state where you can do a task that you don't have to think about. And then somehow you just when you shut your brain off, you put in that in neutral, it just finds the right gears. And you're like, that's what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? Like,
I think there's sometimes to hammer it out, and then you have to know when it's time to like take your foot off the gas. And when I was in my 20s, man, I mean, I used to just blow and go, like I said, 7 days a week. And I remember I would sleep for like a day and a half. You know what I mean? Like you just like giving it so much. I'm surprised I didn't have a damn stroke. I didn't know when it was time to turn it off. And then now being able to recognize that is like, hey, like my brain feels hot, my body feels hot. I need to shut it down for a little while. So I'll turn my cell phone off. And I like that you identified that pretty quick. It's like that mindless work. So there's like, I've read a lot about meditation and, finding stillness and peace no matter what. And it says that like everything can be a meditation. It says like washing the dishes, taking a shower. So like you said, washing your car, everything could be a form of meditation, right? Where you just
didn't realize that. I thought I thought I was a genius. Not just kidding. But that's good to know. Like I was onto something.
No, dude, that's really huge. Actually, that's really, really huge. Being able to like find peace in your work. I am a religious guy, so I do like try to quote stuff. I'm just not good at scripture like some other people because I always botch quotes. But I forgot who it is. But there's a quote in the Bible that says that like to just pray and pray unceasingly. Right. So I kind of think that's what they meant by that, is to just like everything can be a prayer. Everything can be a form of meditation. Like just slow down. Like everything's going to be okay. And I let myself like, oh man, I got a meeting. I got a meeting right after that. I got a phone call right after that. Like I got to the office today. I want to say it was, man, maybe 12:30 or something. It's 4:30 now. And I have not got off the phone. Like meeting. As soon as I came in, everybody's like, hey, I got questions for you. And I'm analyzing deals, writing stuff down. Oh, I got to take this phone call. Like, I didn't catch a break for 3 hours straight. You know what I mean? So it's that all that stuff slammed right into this podcast, you know. But and of course, everything worked out perfectly. But it's like even in amidst of chaos, like you can just slow down. Like you can only do so much at once, and we got to constantly remind ourselves of that, especially if you're like a go-getter, because like you trained yourself. It's like I'm going to perform no matter what. I'm going to perform. I'm going to hit my mark. And again, it's like you can do that very calmly, or you can do that like chaotically and haphazardly. So. And I tend to err on the side of like ready, fire, aim. So it's like,
yeah,
I'm not naturally like a calm person. So I have to constantly remind myself, like I can meditate, I can fast for days in a row. Like I have to constantly remind myself to ground, or I might take off like a rocket and end up on the moon or something.
You could go days without, you could fast for days in a row. Like I've tried
Dude,
to do.
I've done 21 and 23 days on green juice and water. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Like,
yeah.
I try to do intermittent fasting. By 12 o'clock, I'm like, man, I don't know how these people do it.
I've had all the fasting I'm going to take.
Right. I need to eat before I tear somebody's head off. But
yeah,
it's getting easier. Like, so I'll stop eating around 8. And then I'll eat like around 12, 1 o'clock. The other day I went like, it was like 17 hours. I was on, like I was starving, but I was out in the country. There's nothing to eat except for hay. And I'm like, I ain't eating that. So I'm like, so I'm like, oh, that wasn't too bad. So I know there's a lot of health benefits to that, but I'm just kind of getting into the benefits to that and seeing where it takes my body. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. So you have something called senescent cells, right? And your senescent cells are also called zombie cells. So these are cells that like they have a death signal, like they're already sending out the signal like, hey, I'm done. But your body cannot stop to recycle them as long as you continue to eat, right? Because your body's just like it's in its rhythm that it's caught in, and it's not going to stop. So when you start fasting, your body goes into like a stage, it's called autophagy, like self-eating. And that's what it does. It starts doing cellular recycling. And so it takes the good parts out of the cells to reuse them, and the bad stuff, it deletes them. So if you don't,
this doesn't interfere with the eating at all. Like it doesn't.
So there's a caloric threshold for one, and then there's also like what you're eating. So if I ate like a spoonful of sugar, yeah, that might kick you out of fasting. But if you can have green juice when it's not like if it was a bunch of like apples and pineapples, right, that might kick you out. But if it's just like leafy greens and cucumber, something that's very like low caloric density. You can save yourself from getting kicked out of autophagy, so you won't lose your fasted state if you stay below a certain caloric threshold. That's amazing, man. I do feel from an extended fast. At first, of course, you get the stages where your body's running on pure glucose, so you'll hit a crash, and when you hit that crash, it's like your body's like starving, like, hey, something needs to happen, so it's going to start tearing down muscle tissue. After through enough muscle tissue, it can go through organ tissue, right? So you can get into a pretty bad state if you're doing this extended fast for 7 days or 40 days or whatever. But as you train your body, like anything else, it can be trained. Your body will jump into a state where it's burning fat, right? So it converts fat into ketones, and you can use that directly for energy like you would glucose. So a lot of cellular recycling is happening in that state, man. And when you're deep in it, you feel so good and you're so energetic. You'll feel like, man, you know what? I might never eat again. That's how good you feel. Yeah.
Until your neighbors could barbecue in a steak, you're like, I'm gonna kill that dude. I'm fasting right now.
Yeah, I would be fasting with the kids, and we'd be like at a restaurant, and everybody's eating, and I'm just looking around like, dang, it takes some real discipline. But again, man, like I said, it is and some days I'll try. Some days I'm like, I'm fasting this week, and then on Monday by lunch I'm done. So again, we're all human, but I've done several like extended fast, water fast, juice fast. And they're pretty powerful, man. You end up in a pretty cool spot sometimes. And like I said, once you break through and you're like in full ketosis, you just feel amazing, man. Like I said, I kind of feel like I know how Jesus and Buddha felt, You know, they were like fasting for 40 days. Like,
I don't know if I can do that, but I'm gonna try to do like a juice fast, like because we have, it's called nectar. It's all natural juice. They juice everything in front of you. Um, I have to go see what they have because I don't, going to buy a juicer for a couple of days, it doesn't make sense. But
yeah.
As long as like it doesn't have, like you said, like a lot of apples or pineapple juice in there, just keep it all greens and give that a shot for a day or two.
Well, you might maybe grab a mix of two, right? Grab one that's mostly all greens, like lighter stuff, like cucumbers, and then maybe grab one that does have some of the pineapples and the apple and stuff like that. That way, in case you do get into a spot where like your blood sugar's crashing and you're starting to feel irritated or weak, then then you can just have a little bit of the sugar one, So you kind of like have it there as medicine, as an emergency situation. So
I competed in a bodybuilding competition. I wanted, like, it was on my bucket list. Like,
dang.
I wanted to. But first, I started like, I want to have abs. I want to be ripped.
Mm-hmm.
And then my coach was like, "Bro, like you're getting on stage. Like there is no, like, you're doing all this work. You might as well get on stage." I'm like, okay. And like I was so disciplined. I worked out 3 days a week. I was all strict on my diet. Had my cheat meal on Saturday, which was a double cheeseburger and a fry and a diet soda, because it was like already like 3,000 calories. Like, but I was still always hungry. I was eating every 6 hours. I was always hungry. And I'm just like, man, when I got to the point like working with people, I was so hungry. But now, like doing the fasting, like I could go like to like a 10, 11 before I start to get grumpy. I'm like, how did I do that then? And how do I do this now? I'm just like, it's crazy because you get hangry and you're just like, man, like I wish these people would just hang up so I could go grab something to eat.
So I'll tell you a good hack, man, to like kind of train your body to go from like burning sugar to burning fat is you could do like a spoonful of like butter or a spoonful of coconut oil, like mix that in your coffee or into a hot tea or something. Or
okay.
Yeah, that really does help a lot because you'll get that caffeine and then you'll get like a spoonful of fat. So you're still pretty much in that fasted stage because you haven't like broken that caloric threshold like on the glucose side. So it's like you force your body like, hey, you want energy? Okay, you're gonna have some ketones. So then your body will start to recognize that it needs to go to fat for a fuel source whenever you're in that fasted state. So you can go in and out easier. So it'll be a lot easier to get into like ketosis when you're doing a regular fast or a 16-8 or whatever. Maybe start to train your body that way. And it actually tastes amazing. Then you put some cinnamon and a spoonful of butter or something, a little bit of coconut oil in your coffee and blend it up. Turns into like a frappuccino or something, or
I've had that before, but the cinnamon, I was like, that's a good little, that sounds good.
Yeah, it almost makes it seem like it's sweet, but it's not. But like the cinnamon, like your body recognizes it. Like this tastes like breakfast.
It's like a cinnamon roll off.
Yeah, dude. I'm always thinking. What's that?
Do you take any vitamins or anything like that to like help, or is your nutrients all from diet?
No, man. Actually, like if you look inside, I have like one cabinet in my house that's might be, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet wide, and it's like 2 doors, and it's just loaded up with all kinds of crap. But I use it like a medicine cabinet, right? So I don't take everything every single day. The main go-to that I have is a D3 K2, which helps your blood vessels from becoming calcified. When you are taking D3, right, it builds up, like you can get more calcium in your bloodstream. So the K2 makes sure that your body deposits that calcium in your bones and not in your blood vessels. I'm taking a DHA, so like a fish oil pill, one in the morning, one at night. And I've actually been using some CBD oil with a little bit of THC in it. And just from time to time, sometimes I'll take it like 2 or 3 hours. Yeah, like 2 or 3 hours before bed. And then by the time it's lights out time, you're done, man. So the CBD competes with the receptors, the same receptor as a THC. So if you have the CBD with it, it won't really you won't have too many of the psychoactive effects.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
A friend of mine, I was having a hard time sleeping in the cannabis world, and she gave me one of those pins. And she was like, "Here, just hit this before bed."
Yep.
And I was like, she said it was CBD, right? I'm like hitting this thing. I never hit it before. I'm like, there's nothing in there. I kept hitting it, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, that tasted like weed. I go, I'm like, I'm going to bed right now. I'm gonna be so high, I think.
It was a mix.
I don't it would end up being like 80% THC. Yeah, there was a mix, but it's like way higher on the THC.
Oh, shoot. No.
I'm like, I did not move all night. And she's laughing. And she's like, why'd you do that? She's like, well, you slept good, didn't you? I'm like, yeah, I did. I didn't move all night. Like, I remember just laying down. I didn't roll over all night. I was like, it was like 4 a.m. before I had to get up and use the restroom. I was like, that was pretty good. Like,
You're in a coma.
yeah, I was in a coma. Like, I don't know if I could do that every night. It's just too much for me. Like,
yeah, I was trying the pure THC oil, and it's just too intense, man. It freaking makes my heart race and shit, and I do have trouble sleeping, so it needs to have.
Yeah, my brain just won't shut off if I'm like, it's like the little squirrel in there. I used to smoke all the time, but I'm like, I can't do it because I can't sleep. But except for this time, I was just, I guess, I ate that directional.
You need to have like 80% CBD or something like that.
Oh man,
makes it easier. Yeah, I'll probably use that maybe like 2 or 3 times a month. Like I said, if I feel like I'm just too charged up by night and I know I'm not going to sleep, I try not to do any like melatonin. Some people do that, other like sleep aids. I'd rather my body get natural sleep, so I try not to take anything. I found that low lights before bed. So especially if it's just me and everybody else is busy doing something else, I'm like cutting all the lights down to nothing. Maybe even like candle light, like that low, right? So maybe the closet light's on, and I'm operating like before bed. It was just very, very low light. And then I notice if you do that like an hour or 2 before bed, as soon as you lay down, you're pretty chill. But if you go right from blue light, like in the kitchen or anything like that, and you're up and just going 1,000 miles an hour, checking your phone, and then you lay down, yeah, your brain, like you're hormonally, you're not ready for bed yet.
So the squirrel's still going on the.
Yeah.
I take melatonin, but I didn't take it the other day, and like 3 o'clock in the morning, I had to wake up, or I couldn't sleep. It was like 2 or 3. I'm like, I gotta take something. Like, I'm wide awake here. Like,
I need 2 hours of sleep at least, bro.
No, it was like, oh man, I just couldn't sleep. Like, when you have so much going on in your life, you're like, oh, this deal, that deal, I got to do this.
Yeah,
I got to call this person back. It's tough, trying to get my son in the business too, so he can handle some of those small tasks, like go meet the inspector, open the house and let the carpet guy in to get a measurement. All those little things that take a lot of time out of my day, I can pay him to do.
Yeah, I think delegating, man. Another thing is like being like a type A, a control freak. You feel like if I don't touch it myself, if I don't do it myself, then it's not going to get done, or it's not going to get done like an amazing way that I'm going to do it. But I'm getting a lot better, man, at just handing stuff off, passing stuff off, making budget for it, like saying, hey, I need somebody else to hit some of my callbacks, or I need somebody else to work, the CRM for me. I'm just tired of wearing so many hats, man. Like I said, we demand so much of ourselves. Like, I think even it seems like some of the people that I've delegated to now, they probably do the stuff better than I would. Right. But I think that letting go.
They only have one task to do. And that's why I want to bring my son in to help, like, make some calls for me, call these people, check in on them. It makes my life easier.
Yeah. Maybe when we set up your machine too, your machine's doing the following up for you. So you're not constantly having to think about that too.
Yeah. That would be good.
There's something called a cognitive loading too. I don't know the exact definition, but that's what it is. It's like when you have too many windows open on your computer. So it's bogging down the RAM of your brain by having so many things in mind that you need to do, and all these little constant reminders of yourself. So I think having a lot of that systematized, like, reminders, follow-ups, all that stuff, just like relieving yourself of it, is another cool little hack that kind of keeps my brain like fresh and energized. So that way I'm not like, oh shoot, I should have called the guy back. So I'm learning to, like, between machine and humans, I'm learning to kind of like pawn a lot of that stuff off, man. And it does help a lot. Makes me feel like I'm not carrying so much responsibility around all the time.
And that's how we are as entrepreneurs. We've built this thing, and it's our baby. We are taking care of it. And like you said, like, learning how to let some of that go, and delegating helps give us that quality time back for ourselves. Like, some days I'll be driving around, pull over in the shade because I'm out in the country or I'm going somewhere, turn the music up, turn my phone off, and take a quick 15-minute power nap. Even if I don't just sleep, it's just 15 minutes my brain is just listening to some Metallica.
Yeah.
It sounds counterintuitive because it's fast, but it's like it's fast enough like my brain could just focus on the rhythm of the music, and I don't think about anything else. And even though I don't get to sleep, my brain just has that moment of rest where it could just reset, and I feel good for the rest of the day because you can over caffeinate and make yourself tired.
Yeah.
You don't realize that you just no matter how much caffeine you drink, you're just crashing. It's not working anymore.
Yeah, it goes the other direction.
Yeah, I've had a rock star. I'm like, just finished it. I'm like, I need a nap. Like, it's like this is like I take a little power nap. I'm like, and then you wake up, the caffeine's kicked in, your brain's fresh. But I don't like doing that because you're always like on at 100 miles an hour. It just doesn't. It's not healthy.
Yeah, I think again, like we have that habit of pushing ourselves. Like I notice even some days when I don't even need coffee, like I feel great. I'm feeling great. I feel plenty of energy. And sure enough, I just pull in for a coffee for no reason. Like, what the heck? I was doing fine.
You don't even finish it, but you just knowing you have it.
Yeah, just used to it, man. So I'm trying to see if I can turn myself down. So I'll tell you one hack that I did. Building Hive Mind. I got fat, dude. Like I literally didn't work out the whole like first year of Hive Mind. Like it's just working from the time I woke up to the time I was going to bed at night. Like I thought I was gonna have a damn stroke, but too many cups of wine, too many drinks to try to like keep myself like performing at that level. Caffeine, energy drinks, everything, and almost no gym at all, dude, for like a year. And so top of this year, I mean, I got a belly, bro. Like if people are making tubs, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, dang, let myself get fat again. And now consistently being back at the gym, at CrossFit, I was thinking like, man, I feel exhausted when I get there. You know what I mean? Like, oh shit, now I got to move around this big tub of shit. You know what I mean? So what I did is I did get some strong pre-workout. I got some Bang pre-workout. I've never been a pre-workout guy in my life, right? Because I'm always amped up. Sure enough, man, it does help me have an amazing workout. It's like it gives me like probably like a 20% increase of output of energy, everything. And so, but now I'm noticing now that I'm getting so fit again. It's like I'm starting to not need the pre-workout. So I think it's important too to like if you do need like a little booster here and there, like try to cut those out whenever you get the chance. So your body can kind of retrain of operating without that stuff.
I know, like I've been thinking because every morning I get up and have a cup of coffee, and that's how I start my day. And then midday I'm having coffee. I'm just like, man, am I overdoing my adrenal glands? I need to but now that I'm talking with you, like I'm gonna cut out some coffee for a few days. It's just like, people who drink alcohol, right? Like, I could drink a beer and be buzzed because I don't drink that often. But then you have your buddies who could drink a 6-pack and highly functional. So I think bringing your body back closer to zero, helps, right? So when you do need it, it works.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, like you or I, we're gonna strong arm our body into making it do whatever we want it to do. But really, it's like you should be able to like to skip days, like even schedule it. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, that kind of stuff. So
schedule your coffee drinks.
Yeah, like just like I said, if you work it in maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that way you're not having it every single day without thinking about it, right? So like I said, we can like will our way and push ourselves into making ourselves go a certain way, but it should be easy. Like you should be able to like just to like we move in and move out. Like I said, like the pre-workout thing. Do I need it? Probably not, but I do and I could. So I'm trying to skip it, man. Trying to make sure that I'm not dependent on chemicals to be able to perform.
I agree. So
well, cool, I mean, I don't want to keep you too long. I know that we planned maybe about good 30, 40 minutes. So I think we're reaching the top. So you were on episode 1 of the Health Mind podcast. So we appreciate you, man. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of you as we start to work together on that new campaign.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So maybe right after we get some success with that one, we'll bring you back on and let's see how things are with that.
Sounds like a plan. I hope somebody gets something out of this, man. It's like, you don't have to be superhuman every day.
Remember, man, Lance he's in the top 1% in Stockton, California. So if you guys have any deals for him to look at, both residential and commercial, he'll be able to help you move through those deals. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, man, thank you for being on here. Thank you
Appreciate
for being humble enough to admit that we're not all superhuman.
Absolutely, brother. Have a good one, man. Take care.
Thanks, man. Be good.